Welcome back, everybody. So if you guys remember from a couple streams ago, we were working on this here, which was the cover for Sketchbook Red, which was a convention sketchbook that I brought to a local convention a couple weekends ago. And what I addressed in that video was I was going to record the process of taking our roughs all the way here to like finished. And I believe this is a couple weeks ago anyway. I believe this video goes all the way into the coloring as well. So hopefully you guys will get a little treat out of that and all that good stuff. To talk about the sketchbook side itself, it actually went pretty well. Sold a lot more than I was thinking that it would. I figured that a lot of people would most likely just get like prints or things like that, and it's not really a comic book, right? So again, the market for it is very particular. But I did notice that once you start adding little things in there, such as hey, you get a free print or something like that. Obviously, it like entices people a little bit more. But the whole point of it was two things. One, to attract the people that are interested in my work or my style, right? And the second one is to sort of get people that might not know my stuff to see that in a way where it's not just a print, right? So that the next year you go to these cons, or ideally some of these people they see me here on YouTube or they go to my website and goes from there, right? It's a different way than just doing like a comic book thing. It's a lot. I'd say it's easier making sketchbooks because most of us are sketching anyway. But check it out. I recommend you guys do that as well. In the link below, I will include a link to the what's it called there? The stream that we had for the roughs, and as well, this video should be up at a point too where there's a link on my site to the store if you guys are interested in picking up a copy yourself. All right, so let's get on to business. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts here. So the roughs are pretty self-evident. You can see them in the background there. They're just very crudely drawn. Once again, if you're interested in getting the whole process here, I would recommend watching that video as well. It is an hour long because it is a live stream, but I do have plenty of videos on my channel here talking about the roughs of anything. This stage here, when we're doing just these deadlines, it can be very boring to look at and boring to watch and all that stuff. And unfortunately, this is really where the whole process matters, because if you think of this if you're to give this to a kid, or if you're to give it to yourself really to do a coloring book, this is really what it is, right? So you can't hide behind shadows and rendering when you're working like this. That's not to say that as we go and we ink, you can't just drop black all over in certain spots to fix areas. You totally can. But this stage here, I've noticed it doesn't just help you maintain where you're at and what's going on. It's sort of like it works in a way that I know it's just a building block to get to the next stage, and it's actually very important that it stays that way. I do find if I was to just have those roughs, and I went in there with like a Manga Studio is perfect for this, and I do know, I think I would say a vast majority of people work like this, where you would have your roughs and then you grab your pen, whatever it may be, that has pressure sensitivity, and you go in there, and with that, you can just do your thin to thick lines. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's really like, I wouldn't necessarily say one method slows you down or speeds you up over the other. But the one method, at least that I'm noticing by doing this, there's little intricacies that work really well with comic book making in general. And this is just a personal preference that I find as well. So, like, I like to use SketchUp models. You guys have seen me do that. I'm not a fan of drawing guns and backgrounds necessarily and complex things, right? That's not where I know my strength is. It's something I definitely need to work on, absolutely. And I don't think we should ever forget the things that we need to improve on. However, SketchUp has been a valuable tool in letting a lot of us just go, you know what, it's okay. I can just copy in things and adjust as we go. But there are settings in SketchUp that you can do that mimic this look right here, okay? And this look right here has a lot of applications, which would be you can duplicate layers and it thickens the line art, which is very important, and you might not notice it a lot. I'm not, like, this video is going way too quick to talk about that. Perhaps we can kind of go over, make a new little video addressing that stuff. And I say it in every video, but if this sort of thing is interesting to you, by all means, definitely check out the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics. Freddie Williams also has a YouTube channel. He's got some content on there you can check out. Highly applicable to a lot of things. The other thing too, right, is this lets me do a couple of things as well. Let's just say for the actual comic book purpose itself, I want this to be inked, like a traditional, we'll say like a traditional American comic with the rendering and the inking and the shadows and stuff. And the line weights, right? I can make a layer and do all of that on there. Then let's say maybe, I don't know, 6 months down the road, all I need is that line art because maybe I want to make, and I know this is very, the chances of this one doesn't really make much sense, but let's just say I wanted to do just for fun, bring these things to like a convention or whatever, sort of like a kids thing. Like, here's a coloring book of all of my sketches. Like, that's another way you can market it and stuff, right? Now, if you were to do this with thin to thick line the whole way through, as long as you were thinking about not adding a layer to render and all that stuff, you could totally go back. But this method here I find works a lot of angles in, I don't want to say future proofing, but it's definitely something that does take some getting used to, and I personally find it does increase my workflow because lately at what I've been doing, and I've talked to you guys about it before, is working in batches, which is very reminiscent of like even how I do work at my day job, right? Of doing concept art and illustration there. It's batches of work where you do batches of concepts, batches of refinements, batches of presentation and things. So in this stage too, right, like this inking, normally I wouldn't do this unless this is just for like today. For like the Jess of King webcomic that we're working on in the background, exactly the same thing. Just doing roughs for about, I think I'm right now, the queue that I'm working on is about 4 pages. So I'll do a batch of roughs for 4 pages, a batch of the tight lines that you saw, and then the inks. And then I'm not even sure, I still don't even know if we're going to be coloring it and all that, because it does add some time, but that's fine too. So what are we doing here in the actual image itself? You can see the inks are actually quite sloppy. I'll call it this like my sloppy sort of inking style. Like right there, it's really nasty in the way that the glove bunches up. And this brush I'm actually going to be changing over probably this weekend or early next week. I was finding, especially in this piece here, that like a lot of the lines that I would do, it's very chunky and stuff. It is a custom brush, and at first it was working really well. But I noticed when I was doing this in like this sloppy style, like right, it's hard to see because it's moving so fast, but it's very jaggedy, and I have to go over it and paint it in white to sort of like smooth some of those lines out. And I knew this was going to get colored anyway, so I didn't stress on it too much, plus the resolution that this would be printed at. It would have been, right now I'm drawing it at 11 by 17, which is normal comic book paper, but if you were to get an 8.5 by 11 regular printer paper, right, that you would read like a piece of paper, but just turn it sideways and fold it in half, that's 11 by 17, which worked out really well. But since I knew it was going to be, I already did like some printed tests in the background you guys wouldn't have seen, just to make sure how detailed I could get. And I knew even though these were sloppy, when they got shrunk, they would clean up a bit. But being in the workflow, there is something to be said about having some clean kind of work here. And I've tried to start doing this, especially with the streams. You guys will see the second window. Normally this second window for the document here, which you can do by going up to your menu at the top. This works for Photoshop as well. It's like window new canvas or window new something. It's in there somewhere. I can't see it in here, but if you have a second monitor, you can just bring it to the side so that I can always see the image, right? And I can be zoomed in here. So what I wanted to do with you guys is just have that there, because like right now this is chaos that we're inking in, right? And you can't really see what's going on at all in there. So yeah, I'm looking at the time. I really don't think we're getting into colors. I mean, we're getting pretty close to the end here. That's a shame. I didn't record that process. I don't think. I'll have to double check to make sure. But you guys can go back and check some other stuff. We'll be getting some coloring things going on soon, and all that good stuff too. So here we're just working on the line art. This character here, his name's Momo, for the Jessup King mini comic, and she's very simple to design. There was a few videos back where I was sort of discussing, I didn't know how detailed to go with her. I made her like this full-blown wizard. She was like a spellcaster in the comic, but I wanted to play the fantasy route a little bit more with her, and I think it started to get a little too heavy for what I wanted to do here. Like even Jessup's design is very simple, and I didn't want to go too crazy with this stuff. That way I can hammer out the pages quicker, right? We don't want too many characters looking like Iron Man. That's a lot of work to draw on a page. You might notice also in here as well is we've got Gildas from the other book that I'd like to work on one day. which of Castle Dracula in the back on the right there. Again, if you don't watch that other video where I talked about the reason for that, the real Cliff Notes version was I wanted to have my own characters on there, and I thought it'd be cool if I could mix two universes of stories that, you know, eventually one day will be out. And it just made for it was actually really fun drawing this because it was just my own characters, right? Like this could be the Hulk with Wolverine and stuff and Batman on a cover. And that's fun too, but when I think it's your own characters, there's a little something a little bit more satisfying about it, since you're seeing it all the way to completion as if it were, you know, like how you treat those air quotes here, right? Bigger property books and all that stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd like to get more of these out to you and for you as well, so we can get these quicker ones out there. But hope you enjoyed it again, and like usual, you guys keep reading comics, keep making comics. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Bye bye.